Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of JEMTrades. This is where we hope to help kitesend your trading into profitability. So today I want to talk about the three things that really held me back in my trading, the three things that killed my profitability for years and years. And no, it's not a technical thing, it's not a new method or technique. Quite frankly, all the things that I knew before, in the prior 9 years before I hit profitability, all the technical aspects that I knew still hold true today. So it's not technical, it's all psychological. And I believe that anyone who's struggling, if they look at these three things in their trading and address them, they will probably find that it will impact their profitability significantly if they make the necessary changes. So without further ado, let's get into them. The first thing that really killed my trading over the years was expectation. I was expecting too much from my method, too much from the computer, too much from the internet connection, and not enough from myself. We tend to, and this holds true for life as much as it does for trading, um, we tend to project our problems out onto the outside world and say what that person should have done better and what, the computer's too slow and I need more screens and all that kind of stuff. But really it begins and ends with us. We need to hold ourselves accountable. So I would expect to return X% or X number of dollars or whatever the case may be, when really I needed to hold myself accountable to trading the strategy fully and wholly. And you'd be surprised, I thought I was disciplined, but I couldn't hold that discipline long enough to get the result. It seems like a simple thing to say, but uh, before you go and buy a new internet connection, or you blame your husband or your wife or your children or your friend or the telephone or whatever for your trading mistakes, you really have to dig down and be honest and say, did I do everything in my power to follow the strategy? Not based on the result you get, based on the strategy. Did I do everything I needed to do? And you'll probably find that if you concentrate on that, you'll never blame anyone again, because you'll be too busy fixing your mind. When your mind wanders, or when you'll start to notice that you do a lot of things in a subpar fashion. And so that's the first point. The second point is thinking in terms of dollars instead of thinking in terms of percentages or in terms of risk units. So here in front of you, you can see I've got my running P&L on my blog. And, this is nearly 6 months of data, 373 trades as of Monday. I did take one loser yesterday, so that will say 374 when I update it. 373 trades over nearly 6 months, and I returned 54.9, so let's say 55 times my risk. If you're trading, say, a $3,000 account, and you're risking 2% per trade, $60, you have returned 60 multiplied by 55. So whatever that is, 60, let's do it here, 60 times by 55, $3,300, or 110% in 6 months. If you think in terms of dollars, 3,300 over a 6-month period is nothing, because you're thinking in terms of real world value rather than percentage terms. So 3,300 divided by 6, you make $550 per month. Okay, it's not nothing, but let's say you had to sit at your computer for 8 hours a day to accomplish that, 5 days a week, 40-hour week, and you come back with $550 gross per month, not per week. So there are 4.3452381 There are that number of weeks in the average month. That gives you a weekly total. You sat down for 40 hours a week. for $126, or $3.16 per hour, less than half of the US minimum wage. If you think that way, you're going to be discouraged. The way you need to think is in terms of percentages. So let's look at that information. That's $3.16 per hour. Now let's look at it in terms of percentages. 110% over 6 months is 18.33% per month. If you're now trading, let's say, a $50,000 account or an $100,000 account, then divided by 100, so that's 18.33% as a decimal. Multiply that by, let's say you have an $100,000 account. You're well funded, you mirror the strategy, you do everything right, but you do it with bigger size. Well, now this is $18,330 with an $100,000 account, and this is monthly. This is monthly. So divide that by 4.34523812. You get 4,218 a week, or if you did 40 hours. I don't personally, but this is just for this video as an example. Well, now you're making $105 an hour and 46 cents. That is on par with maybe a GP or a doctor or something like that. And finally, the last thing is thinking short term. I used to think that if I had a break-even day, that was a bad thing, or even a break-even week. And quite frankly, a break-even month, because it's not the short term that counts, it's the long term. And so some people, I read a comment on a fellow trader's blog, his name's, well, not blog, on YouTube. His name's David Knight of 123daytrade.com, I believe, but his name's David Knight anyway on YouTube. And I read a comment referring to making $150 per day. And if you can't make $150 per day, then, quote, you can't trade. But I've made, personally, in my small personal account, I've made $300 in a month. And if that person saw that performance, then they'd think that, you know, I'm not worth anything. But quite frankly, $300 on a $3,000 account, 10% in a month, is fantastic. Blow that up to 100K and you've just made $10,000 in a month. And it's not hard to, you know, a lot of professional, more mature traders who are further along in their journey than I am are trading 50K, 100K, $250,000 accounts and bigger. So, you know, do that with $250,000 in buying power and you've just made yourself 25K in a month, which isn't too bad. So we need to think long term, not short term. And so that's all I have for you today, basically. Like, keep the expectations in check. Make sure that you expect more of yourself than you do of the outside world. Think in terms of return on your risk, as this chart shows. So I've returned 54 times my risk per trade in 6 months, or at 2% risk per trade. That's at just around 100% I've returned over the last 6 months. So think in terms of percentages and return on risk rather than dollars. And finally, think really long term, right? So I'm about to open up my platform and start trading today. It's the afternoon of the 30th of November here in Italy. And whether this day ends negative or positive, it doesn't really matter. It might sting a little. Of course, we want to win every day, but if we hold on to that idea of winning every day, then we won't be able to follow the system. And if we don't follow the system, we won't be able to draw those checks on a fortnightly or monthly basis or whatever it may be. So like this video if you want to hear more of my rambling on about thoughts concerning day trading. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, just remember to dumb it down and follow the plan. See you next time.